Elagabalus, also known as Heliogabalus, remains one of the most controversial figures to have ruled the Roman Empire. His reign, spanning from 218 to 222 CE, was marked by both extravagance and scandal, as well as his fervent devotion to the Syrian sun god Elagabal. Born in 203 CE as Varius Avitus Bassianus in Emesa, a city in the Roman province of Syria, Elagabalus hailed from the influential Severan dynasty, which had ruled Rome since Septimus Severus' ascension in 193 CE. His mother, Julia Maesa, and his grandmother, Julia Maesa, were politically ambitious women who played a pivotal role in his rise to power. Following the assassination of Emperor Caracalla in 217 CE, Macrinus seized the throne, though his rule remained tenuous. Julia Maesa, seeking to restore her family's influence, circulated the claim that Elagabalus was Caracalla's illegitimate son, thus strengthening his claim to the imperial title. With the backing of the Syrian legions, Elagabalus was declared emperor in 218 CE, and soon triumphed over Macrinus in battle, securing his rule. Upon his arrival in Rome, Elagabalus stunned the aristocracy by promoting the cult of the Syrian deity Elagabal, a solar god, as the empire's principal religious practice. He commissioned the construction of a grand temple, the Elagabalium, on the Palatine Hill, and sought to merge Rome's traditional religious customs with his own foreign faith. The emperor actively participated in religious ceremonies, often dressing in women's clothing, while dancing in elaborate rituals. In a symbolic act of religious unification, he arranged a ceremonial marriage between the goddess Vesta and Elagabal, blending Roman tradition with his Syrian beliefs. Beyond his religious reforms, Elagabalus became infamous for his excessive and unconventional behavior. His banquets and feasts were legendary, with reports describing pools filled with wine and rose petals for the amusement of his guests. He was notorious for his elaborate pranks, such as releasing wild animals during banquets, or serving guests deceptive dishes designed to confound them. His private life was equally scandalous. He married 5 times, including a controversial union with Aquilia Severa, a Vestal Virgin, an act considered sacrilegious in Rome, as Vestals were bound to lifelong chastity in service of the goddess Vesta. Furthermore, he engaged in numerous relationships, including with men, and often referred to himself in the feminine. Some historical accounts claimed he offered vast sums of money to anyone who could perform a procedure to physically transform him into a woman. Elagabalus' extravagance and disregard for Roman customs fueled growing resentment, particularly among the Senate and the Praetorian Guard. Sensing that his erratic behavior threatened the family's power, his grandmother, Julia Maesa, shifted her support to his cousin and designated heir, Alexander Severus. Elagabalus repeatedly sought to remove Alexander from succession, but his attempts to strip him of his shared imperial title were blocked by the Senate. At one point, he fabricated news of Alexander's illness to gauge the reaction of the Praetorian Guard, only to spark a revolt. The Praetorians demanded both emperors appear before them. On March 13, 222 CE, the 18-year-old Elagabalus complied with their summons, arriving at the Praetorian camp alongside his mother, Julia Maesa, and Alexander. However, when they reached the encampment, the soldiers greeted Alexander with enthusiasm, while openly ignoring the emperor. Enraged, Elagabalus ordered the immediate execution of those responsible for the display of insubordination. In retaliation, the Praetorian Guard turned against him and his mother, launching a brutal attack. Both Elagabalus and Julia Maesa were executed, their bodies dragged through the streets of Rome before being cast into the Tiber River. His name was subjected to damnatio memoriae, a Roman practice that sought to erase an individual from historical records. With his death, Alexander Severus ascended the throne, ushering in a return to stability. Elagabalus is remembered as one of the most decadent and controversial rulers in Roman history. While some historical accounts may have been exaggerated by hostile sources, his efforts to impose a foreign religious cult and his unconventional behavior secured his place as a unique and infamous figure in the annals of the empire. His brief reign remains synonymous with excess and chaos, yet modern scholars argue that his legacy also reflects the deep-seated Roman resistance to cultural and religious change, rather than merely the eccentricity of a young and unconventional emperor.